A security researcher just published a working exploit for VS Code that lets anyone steal GitHub tokens with one click. The same token that lets you read and write to repositories. Gone. He gave GitHub 1 hour's notice, 1 hour prior to publishing. And here's the part that should worry you some more. This researcher is not the only one doing it. There's a pattern forming of full disclosure, and Microsoft is at the center of it. Let me show you what this researcher, Ammar Askar, found, because mechanics matter. You know github.dev? It's a browser-based VS Code that you get when you swap github.com in your address bar for github.dev on any repo. It's a handy feature. To make it work, GitHub hands that browser editor an OAuth token, so it can act on your behalf. Here's the problem. The token is not scoped to the repo that you opened. It has access to every repo you can reach, public, private, all of it. So, Askar built an attack, a booby-trap repo with a Jupyter notebook. You click a github.dev link, the notebook opens, and hidden inside a markdown cell is JavaScript that fires fake keyboard shortcuts. Those keystrokes trick VS Code into installing an attacker control extension, which grabs your token and queries the GitHub API for your private repos. One click, that's the whole chain. To his credit, Askar also points out what VS Code did get right. Defense in depth, a strict content security policy, DOM purify on rendered markdown, those choices stop this from becoming one-click remote code execution on the desktop. So this isn't a hit piece on the engineering. The vulnerability isn't really why I'm making this video. This is. Askar didn't quietly report this vulnerability and waited silently, as is expected during coordinated disclosure. He deliberately went for a full disclosure. The researcher gave heads up to an old contact at GitHub, that too as a courtesy, and then published an hour later. By his own account, the intent was always full public disclosure. Why? His reasoning is pretty explicit. Last time he reported a VS Code bug to Microsoft Security Response Center, he says that they silently fixed it, gave him no credit, and marked it as having no security impact. He looked at how MSRC handled the recent Star Labs report as well and concluded nothing had changed. In his words, this is one of the few levers I have to try to influence MSRC and the security posture of VS Code. Finding and fully developing security bugs into proof of concepts like this one takes time and effort on the part of security researchers that should not be disrespected or taken for granted. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not surprised. I reported on several cases of responsible disclosure derailing by now. Every time it's the same story, and it's a shame in 2026, I'm still hearing about this problem privately, with researchers emailing me every other week that they reported a bug to vendor, responsibly waited, vendor dismisses it as a security vulnerability, calls it out of scope or not applicable. Then a few weeks later, they silently patch it and a new release or two ship with security enhancement or hardening improvement. No credit to the researcher, no advisory, and no acknowledgement that there ever was a security problem in the first place. And here's why this trend of full disclosure is not a one-off. Askar is following in the footsteps of a researcher who goes by Nightmare Eclipse. Suspected former Microsoft insider, motivation that's still vague, but allegedly tied to an agreement Microsoft broke. This person or this entity recently dropped 6 0 days. 3 have already been picked up and exploited in real-world attacks. And Microsoft's response to that? They reached for their digital crimes unit threatening legal action. But Microsoft backpedaled fast after security community pushed back hard. Which brings us to this. On 1st of June, Microsoft posted a lengthy statement on its X account, stating that they value researchers have no intention of pursuing legal action against people doing legitimate research and believe that coordinated disclosure is the foundation for protecting customers. Reasonable, on paper. Except ex-readers and community members slapped a community note on it. The note points out that this came right after Microsoft threatened legal action against Nightmare Eclipse, who was then banned from GitHub and GitLab over the research. That's the gap. The words say that we value you, but actions speak otherwise. And researchers go by track records of vendors. How were they treated by them, not press statements. So here's where I land. Full disclosure isn't picking up these days because researchers got reckless all of a sudden. It's picking up because researchers are realizing that the path of responsible disclosure is leading to the same fruitless outcomes of them hitting a dead end. And it's a no-win situation, especially for vendors. Every time a silent fix is shipped, depriving the researcher of credit, it tells the next researcher that coordinated disclosure is not worth the effort and may even encourage grey hats into exploiting those vulnerabilities or selling these exploits on underground forums. The exploit code gets published either way. Only difference is who gets the heads up first. You can't ask the security community to do the right thing and then penalize them for it. I actually went deep on this exact problem in a feature for CSO Online recently, how responsible disclosure is quietly turning into unpaid labor, the failure modes that push researchers towards going public, and what it costs everyone downstream when it breaks. I'll drop the link in the description below if you want to read the full story and different case studies cited. If you found this useful, subscribe. I'll keep an eye on where this development leads because I don't think Askar's case is an isolated one. I made previous videos on the subject on researchers doing the same after failing to reach an agreement with the vendor. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.